Hello, everyone. Hello, Andy Feds. Thank you for having a third segment with us this week.
No problem. No problem.
Room Talk and Future Friday. We are so excited to have you back again with us because we believe that your story of being an HIV positive comedian out in Las Vegas is very compelling. So, why don't we do a recap? Why don't you introduce yourself and then give us a little bit about your background?
Okay. I am Andy Feds, the first ever openly HIV positive born comedian. I say that so many times because it's a hashtag now. And I'm just really on a journey with my Keeping It Positive movement to spread awareness, educate people about HIV, and empower them.
Very good. So I know that we touched a lot about that you were born HIV positive. How did that affect you? How did that come about? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
For sure. It affected me. Well, first, it came about because I got it from my mom, as I mentioned in the previous two episodes. And it affected me because it was like I was the only kid that I knew that had it, that I personally, I should say, that had HIV. None of my friend groups, they didn't tell me of any health issues that they have. So it was just I kind of felt isolated in a little bit of a way, as it was just I didn't really have that peer group to talk to. Always, if I talked about HIV, it was always at the clinic.
So there was just not a lot of awareness about HIV.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why you're using your platform because you want people to be more open about it.
Exactly.
Also open about cancer, other diseases, COVID-19. So it's not something that we should be silent about. It is something that we should talk about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So how did your mom get HIV from your dad?
No, she actually got it from a partner after her and my dad was an on and off relationship. So she saw another guy who did not tell her that he had HIV. And once he passed away, that's when the health office, I guess you could say, they knocked on her door and said, "Hey, this guy just passed away, and he listed you as the last person that he was intimate with." And that's when she knew, crap, I think I got HIV.
So is your mom alive today?
No, she passed away in 1998.
So who raised you if your mom passed away?
My grandma took guardianship of me, and I say she did a phenomenal job in teaching me, letting me, always ask questions about it, especially when it came to like my doctor's appointments. So shout out to her.
Okay, so did your mom have to take medication? Did she have to attend classes? I know that you were fairly young when she passed away.
Yeah, 5 years old.
Did your grandma tell you was there a lot of education back then about HIV?
I don't know if she necessarily took classes, but from the stories that I've heard, my mom did not like the fact that she had HIV, or let alone that her only son had HIV. And so she kind of ignored it as if it wasn't a thing until both of our health started to decline.
So what's the difference between HIV and AIDS?
HIV is a immunodeficiency virus that attacks your immune system. It's viruses that attacks your blood cells that keep you healthy. AIDS is the last step of HIV, and that's when the virus has taken over your immune system, so to speak, and making you susceptible to other illnesses and cancer.
So HIV progresses into AIDS and someone doesn't take their medication,
Exactly.
doctor's appointments, and that's why it's important to be educated and to go
Exactly.
take your medication, correct?
Yeah, I believe if my mom did take her medicine, she'd still be alive. She probably only would have HIV if it was more talked about.
So from what your grandmother told you, did she say that when your mother um, was towards the end,
Hmm.
if it was painful for her? Do you know? Because she didn't.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Because people don't know the effects of if you're not taking your medication. Like, how does it affect you? Because we know it
Hmm.
puts you into AIDS.
Hmm.
So does it when she wasn't taking her medication, she was very
Hmm.
sick. So do you know? Do you recall, or if your grandmother told you it was a painful process for her?
I don't know if it was painful. I don't think my grandma would have let me know that stuff, especially at the age of 5. But I do remember specifically one moment where me and my grandma went to the hospital after, I guess it was preschool. And I just saw my mom, excuse me, hooked up to a bunch of machines. And, before we left the hospital, she asked for a kiss. And it terrified me because, like, I just saw, like, so many little tiny bubbles kind of forming in her mouth. And I was like, I don't know, I don't recognize this lady. So my grandma asked the nurses to, fix whatever it was that was creating those bubbles.
Oh
And that's when I
wow.
kissed her. And it almost feel like that was the last time I actually like saw her alive, because that's like the last memory that I kind of remember before like the funeral.
That's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're trying to prevent other people from going through the same thing.
exactly, exactly.
Okay. So, and we've had a couple of questions
Okay,
from our segments. So
okay.
why don't we go ahead and ask you those questions so that you can answer it?
Sure.
Can you have healthy babies being
Uh,
HIV positive?
totally. There are different ways of having healthy babies. One is artificial insemination.
Okay.
And then the other is sperm washing, which is basically doctors taking out the HIV virus out of the sperm and
Okay.
putting it out of the woman's egg. One is artificial insemination.
Sorry. Oh, we have a watch party. This is exciting.
I was like, somebody sounds like me.
And have you discussed this with your wife? Like, are you guys, is that like an,
Yeah, yeah, we thought about it. And right now, financially, not ready to have a baby, but we thought maybe about a year or two.
so discussing finances, because I know that people have this fear that if they go and they get tested,
Hmm.
the people are afraid because the medication and the doctor's appointments will be very costly.
Hmm.
So do you pay out of pocket for it, or is there a resource or support group that helps you pay for it?
Yeah, there's a program that I'm in called the Ryan White program, and they basically handle any HIV related medical costs. So they pay for my doctor visits, they pay for labs, they pay for medication being sent.
So when the person goes and gets HIV tested,
Hmm.
come out HIV positive,
Hmm.
that test them, a location that tests them, will they provide them with that information, or do they actually have to Google that information?
There are some places that will provide, and I'm sure a majority of them will provide. Also, you can just go to like your local health district, and they will definitely provide you with some resources, making sure that you can afford, your basic medical rights.
Like the Department of Health,
Hmm.
like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And our Closing the Gap program obviously has a lot of resources and information. So in
Hmm.
our county, we can also provide that information. If someone knows that they are HIV positive, they can reach out to Marie. She will provide that for them. So that's great. Um,
Mother's healthy babies.
exactly. Exactly. So, how much medicine do you take?
Right now, I'm taking about 2 pills. And it was a time where I was taking at least 10. And I felt a little bit like a druggie from my old neighborhood. So I was just constantly, mornings and nights. So
So did you have like one of those
pill boxes. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I had to take it before school and after school.
Really? But nobody knew about that. So your grandmother would have to remind you. So you were doing it on the down low, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I had so many drugs that it was almost like robbing CVS. I was like, all right, give me everything on the top shelf.
So we know that teenagers, they tend to forget taking their medication.
Mhm.
I mean, did you remember to take your medication, or your grandmother had to constantly remind you?
I had a few slip ups, and
So what happened if you forget to take your medication?
nothing initially, but I knew in the long term that if I continued, and my body might have different effects on it. And so my doctors would always hound me about taking my medicine every day. And as a teenager, you think you know everything, and I only missed a day. It's like, but if I got sick again, then I would have paid for it. So it's important to take it every day.
Was there
I'm
ever
sorry.
a point where you were hospitalized?
Yeah, 2 years old. That's when my mom was like, she didn't want to take my meds or give me my meds or take hers. So eventually I got really, really sick. It didn't turn into AIDS, fortunately. But they did think that I had a low survival chance. So
Oh my gosh. Do you
yeah.
remember how long? Did your grandmother say how long you were in the hospital for? Because I imagine they were probably just trying to pump you with all kinds of drugs.
Yeah. I don't remember her telling me how long, but I do remember I went to originally osteopathic, which is no longer in Chicago, no longer a thing. And then they quickly transported me to Lurie Children's Hospital.
Oh wow.
Shout out to them because they had a better HIV or infectious disease department, and they saved my life. Literally, they saved my life.
My goodness. I mean, that must be really scary for your grandmother to have to go
Yeah,
through all that. I
yeah.
mean, something that you don't remember going through.
Hmm.
So since then, you haven't been hospitalized at all.
Right.
So right now with the pandemic, with the coronavirus, it must be very scary for you and your wife.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't go places. Only work and maybe my in-laws' house because they've already had COVID. So we're kind of. I'm a little bit of that skeptic because they believe that they can't get COVID again, but I'm like, I don't know about all that. So,
Oh my
um,
gosh.
yeah, I'm a little skeptic on where I go simply because I already have a compromised illness.
So how does because your wife, she's a teacher, so
Hmm.
she has to go outside of the house to teach.
Hmm.
What precautions are you guys taking when she comes back into the house when she goes out? Because it's
I tell her, quote, stay away from the German kids.
well, when children do carry each other, we all know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm like, keep your distance, keep your mask on. Tell these kids to keep away from themselves. I have her carry a hand sanitizer and a little Lysol spray. I'm like, spray yourself when you need to.
So she's just spraying herself like it's holy water, right?
Uh-huh. Yep, like it's a perfume.
My gosh. Okay, so and then how did you get into comedy? Because it's unique
Hmm.
and different to have someone who's going through something very serious in life
Yeah,
is now a comedian.
yeah. I got into it. I went to well, first of all, I always loved comedy, whether it be sitcoms or stand-up comedy. Fresh Prince was like one of my favorite shows. I used to always watch Comedy Central. And so I went into college for a music major, or as a music major. And I met a guy named Larry Sturgill. Shout out to Larry. And we created or we was watching Kevin Hart's Laugh at My Pain. And we was just, cracking up. And we was like, you know what? we might be able to do this. We're two funny people. Why not? So we started our own comedy club called Comic Relief. And I remember promoting it like all throughout the campus, you know, telling everybody, hey, you guys should come check it out. And they was like, oh, we don't know if you're real funny. And so I remember I made a bet to one of my friends, Chandra, and I said, if I don't make you laugh, I'm gonna pay for your lunch at the school cafeteria. And she was like, all right. So the show came about, and I remember I just had the crowd just cracking up. I had one guy literally running up and down the aisles. And I looked at Chandra, and she had tears in her eyes from laughing. And I stopped the show quickly, and I was like, I don't owe you anything. So that's when I knew that was my passion. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm gonna put you on the spot because you know we're all very hungry people and we all love food. So, do you remember your routine? Because
I remember.
you able to make your routine that you did when you got started in comedy?
Sure. Yeah.
Because if you can't make us laugh, lunch is on you.
Got you. Okay, I love bits like that.
No pressure.
Gotcha. So, I'll do a quick little routine. So, I'm trying to get HIV a little bit more respected because my last girlfriend, she broke up with me because I had HIV. She was like, "Oh, I don't know if this can work because you know we just got way too many differences between each other." And it was true. You know, we had way too many differences. For instance, I'm a dog person, cat person. I'm a person that likes the warm weather. She's a person that likes the cold weather. I'm a Sagittarius. She was a heifer. It doesn't work like that. So when we broke up, because you know she was telling me she couldn't date with somebody with HIV, it was a bad breakup. Like karma struck actually, because she got hit by a car. I know because I looked in my rearview mirror. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I paid the Uber driver. You know, I had to tip him.
That was a good one. You got
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good. So, have you received any feedback from other comedians? Because comedy is supposed to lighten things up, us out of the norm, and make us laugh. But your topic and your platform is so serious. What is the feedback that you've received from other comedians? Have they been mean about it? Have they been supportive about it?
Yeah. Well, my biggest thing is I know that it's a serious topic, but I'm going to show people that you can make it a little lighthearted. Like my comedy is not of making fun of HIV, but making fun of my life, you know, with HIV. You know, I'm learning to laugh at myself. So a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people do get it. There was a few comedians that, you know, was kind of sad after I did my material. And I'm like, why are you sad? I just happy
what you're trying to achieve.
Exactly. And so they was just like, oh, I'm sad because I didn't know. And I was like, it's okay. I'm literally having you laugh at my life. That's actually kind of ironic because as I was telling you, me and Larry was watching Kevin Hart's Laugh at My Pain. That's literally kind of how I got the idea. And so there was actually another comedian, I won't mention his name, shout out to him, who told me, you should stop doing your HIV material because it makes the audience a little uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know they elected you a spokesperson. So
does it make people feel uncomfortable?
In a way, it does. But comedy is supposed to take you out of your comfort zone and make you kind of think outside of the box. So
do you think that because of your background and because it's such a serious topic that you actually have to convince people a little bit more that your platform on HIV awareness can be more lighthearted, but then you're also educating them at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. I definitely think that. That's why I never take it personal when I'm performing and there might be a few people that just completely tune out because I know that this is a topic that's not really heard of talking on stage.
Yes.
So I know that as long as I get that few select people that are actually listening, then people start talking. And so that's the end goal, is to make people talk about HIV and AIDS. So my goal will be done.
Correct. Wow. So the comedians that were surprised
Mm-hmm.
you told them that you're HIV positive, have they been very supportive of you and just elevated your comedy career by maybe helping you to promote your routine and who you are to other people?
Yeah, I've had a few comedians. Shout out to Benny and Bruce. And I told you I do a lot of shout outs. They've always been supportive. Patrice too, and Alex. Shout out to y'all. They once they heard my set, they really kind of been helping me kind of mold it a little bit better. So yeah, because of them, I think I've gotten a lot better as far as telling this story. I'm going to turn Facebook off. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear all those little beeps.
No, I can't hear it.
Okay. Regardless, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm just curious, are you sick at this time?
Not at all.
You've been taking your medication consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Unless I'm asymptomatic with coronavirus, so knock on wood. But no, I'm not sick at all.
Okay. And since you are trying to educate other people about HIV awareness,
Mm-hmm.
places have you gone to educate other people prior to the pandemic?
So far, or before the pandemic, I really started to push. I got contacted by Aunt Rita's Foundation, which is an HIV organization. And then I also took it to Hubbard High School, my high school, because I was like, hey, I'm friends with the vice principal. And so I was like, hey, I know you see what I'm doing with the Keeping It Positive movement. So would it be okay if I come talk to students about, HIV and AIDS and how to protect themselves, and, maybe do a little comedy with it? And she loved the idea.
And what were the reactions that you received from the students? Because they probably thought you were just some young chap walking into their class and it's a break for them from their teacher. So they're like loving it. But them about when you're educating them about HIV, being HIV positive, what was their reaction? Did they have a lot of questions to ask you?
Hubbard is a different place because Hubbard has kids where they think they're too cool for school. So, there's some kids that just didn't really want to be there. They had their earbuds in their ear or whatever. Teacher had to tell them, take it out. And then there were some kids that actually was like really interested and kept asking me questions. I remember specifically there was one girl that just was on it with so many questions. And
do you remember the questions that she asked you?
Basically the same things, can you have a baby? How does your wife, my wife was with me at the time, how does your wife feel about you having HIV? What was dating like? Things like that. And it went well. I think it went well for the fact that it was a high school.
So when you're going into the schools and you're teaching them about HIV awareness, are you also teaching them about like safe sex too?
Yes.
So that's exactly what you're doing, because I'm trying to get an understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like HIV awareness is one thing, but to prevent it, if that's what you're also using your platform for.
Yeah, definitely. I forgot to mention too that I mentioned to the Hubbard students that I was a former student, and I was always telling them, hey, Hubbard was very testosterone filled, I guess you can say, hormone filled. So I definitely mentioned, if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, you gotta, as I say, wrap it before you tap it. So, just, take care of yourself. It's okay. I also promoted, it's okay to say no whenever, So I make sure that I promote the safe sex aspect of the awareness.
Good. I think that's important to
Yeah.
educate our young ones about, because
Mm-hmm.
they are at that stage where they think they are too cool for school.
Mm-hmm.
They're smarter than all the adults in the world. So it's
Yep.
a good thing that you do that. So because of the coronavirus, you're not going out to the schools or workshops or whatnot. So are
Yeah.
you acting with other people in the community, like community centers, and doing it virtually?
Yeah. I've actually been going to a lot of places. Let me see. This. I don't know if you can see all these, but I made a little sticky note of all the places, and it's not even all of them. All the places, cities and countries and stuff that we reach. So like El Paso, Singapore, Belize, New
In
York,
Singapore, I
all
mean,
over
how
the
many
place.
places have you reached? Like we couldn't count it.
Yeah, I want to say maybe a good 30 since the
30
yeah, and that
virtually.
yes, yeah. I just been the pandemic really helped me out. So I kind of had to reinvent the wheel. So I'm like, all right, how am I going to really push this awareness without having to go places? So I use Instagram a lot, Facebook, promoting posts all the time, boosting posts.
Yes.
Um, so I had to really reach out to like organizations and be like, hey, I'm Andy Fez. I would love to be able to connect with you guys and maybe see if we can work together on building awareness. And sure enough, a lot of organizations was very interested in seeing what a comedian can do with HIV.
Of course, because there's not that many people that we know that are HIV positive. I mean, before
Mm-hmm.
this, other than your mother, did you know anybody else that was HIV positive?
Because again, I was 5 when she passed away, so I
Exactly. And
yeah.
now, do you know anybody? Have you met anybody that's been HIV positive?
I know a few friends now who personally confided in me that either they have it or their family member were affected by it. So yeah, I've gotten to know a lot of people that basically just told me, "Hey, thank you for what you're doing," because I didn't know how to deal with it.
So, do you provide a support group? Because they weren't born with it, so it's something that they got later on in life, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you go to a support group, or do you encourage them to go to a support group?
I definitely encourage it. I've joined a few HIV/AIDS support groups on Facebook, and I'm always open to anybody reaching out to me, social media or in person after COVID, to if you ever need somebody to talk to about it, I'll do the very best that I can to uplift you and
So what is your advice to someone that just found out that they are HIV positive?
always never know or never think that you're alone with this, because there are millions of people with this virus, and you can get the help, as long as you reach out to people and look for that help.
And so these funds, they received the support.
Hmm.
Do you know if they went through a period of depression? Did you go through a period of depression? Because I imagine it's very hard on someone, especially someone like you, when your mother died and you were such
Yeah,
a age.
yeah. I know someone that did, and then I also did, as I mentioned, 10 years after my mom passed away, I went through like a real bad depression. And so kind of, you know, I think comedy and I played piano. So comedy and music really helped me out.
Wow. So, and then do you encourage these other friends to find like a hobby or something? Because, I mean, having HIV is,
Hmm.
it's scary and it's difficult. But then when you add the pandemic into it,
Yeah,
mental health is such a huge issue now.
yeah.
So, do you encourage them to talk to friends, be more open about it, or they're just more closed about it because they feel it's something they should go through themselves?
No, I definitely encourage talking to people. I'm kind of introverted, contrary to many beliefs. So like if I don't know people, obviously I won't tell them or talk much to people. However, when I really get close to friends, I really tell them, hey, I have HIV. I'm okay. I always, follow it with that. And I tell them, hey, if there's any questions or whatever, I'm okay to talk about it because it also helps me out.
That's good. I mean, and the friends that have approached you, have you followed up with them? Maybe they're going out and educating other people. Is that, I mean, what's been
I have a few friends that like have really been supporting me as far as like after I created the Keeping Positive movement. And like they would if they see something that's, somebody joking about HIV that's like not funny, like not in it's funny. I'm kidding. But if somebody's like doing spreading false information about HIV, they will correct it and be like, hey, I know somebody that's dealing with this, and you're not passing the right information. And so it's just it's comforting to know that what I'm doing is really helping people understand and really getting more people to say we're not going to accept false information that's being spread.
so what false information are people spreading that you can
Like
on top of your head?
I just shared this post not too long ago, maybe last week. There was a picture of Michael Jordan guarding Magic Johnson. And the picture said Michael Jordan is a brave man because if Magic Johnson bleed on him, then he's going to get HIV or something like that. I can't quote it directly, but I was just like, see, the stupid posts like this is why I'm pushing this so much because people are still 30 years later still spreading some information that's already been debunked.
So what was your response to that?
Simply that. It was just, why are people still spreading this? So my comment was, I'm really pushing it because I don't want people to think that this is true.
That if someone bleeds on you, whether it's HIV positive,
Mm-hmm.
that you're just automatic gonna get it like that,
Exactly.
and you're not going to get it. There's
Exactly.
precautions that you have to take, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you were in school, were you treated differently? Because I mean, you had to tell the school and the administrators and the
Mm-hmm.
nurse you're HIV positive. So
Mm-hmm. Well, my school was I always say we were the guinea pigs because it was kind of new at the time, so we didn't have special ed programs, we didn't have nurses, so we were just out there. So if I got hurt or whatever, it was just all right, go to the office, and the school secretary would just put a band-aid on me, and that was it. She would put some gloves on, and I was fine. Like I didn't get any special treatment.
it's like nothing different than today. We're using PPE gear, right, for
Mm-hmm.
cars,
Yeah.
all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Normal.
Yeah.
Um, who has been your inspiration?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Um,
HIV.
Andy Newman. Andy Newman is one of them. Obviously, my mom, but Andy Newman is a teacher at Hubbard, my high school that I mentioned. That he was like a father figure to me. He just always supported. He took me to my first America's Got Talent thing audition. So it was him just caring so much that I was like, I want to use the Andy Fed's name as a tribute to him. And then as far as like comedy goes, I don't know if you heard of Brad Williams. He's a comedian that suffers from dwarfism. He does a lot of self-deprecating comedy where he's basically talking about him as a dwarf. So before I started, keeping it positive movement, I was like, I kind of want to do something like that. And I looked at a lot of his stuff, inspiration, and positive started.
That's all it is, right? You have to find the
Mm-hmm.
courage to do it and then just do it.
Yeah, yeah. And then one more. Alicia Keys is a huge one. I don't know. Hold on. You're gonna be amazed by this. This is my fedora collection. Hold on. I might have it
Oh my
back.
gosh.
This
That's
is my
a
fedora
lot.
collection. So 37 of them right now. And a lot of it was because, Alicia Keys started her career with fedoras. And then when she created Keep a Child Alive in 2003, that's an HIV organization. And I was like, I love you even more because now you're supporting people like me.
Wow. So you do a shout out to Alicia Keys too.
Shout out to Alicia Keys and Keep a Child Alive.
Right. Okay, so going back to teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's important, because we've touched on your childhood in a past segment, which everyone can still view the other two segments on Facebook. We have it on there, and Andy has posted it on his YouTube also.
Yep.
So feel free to check that out. In your teenage years, which we all know is very uncomfortable and awkward,
Mm-hmm.
right? What moment or memory stands out in your mind? Be positive.
It was hard dating because I just wasn't comfortable with telling people yet I was HIV positive. There was a girl that I was in love with in high school that we never dated, but I was chasing her for a long. Huh?
Does your wife know this?
Yeah, she knows this. But we're close friends now, so shout out to Angela. But I told her that I was HIV positive, and I don't know if that necessarily kind of prevented us from dating or whatever. But I was also a little uncomfortable with dating with HIV, so it was just it kind of bothered me a little bit to date with HIV because I didn't really know how to go about it.
Right, exactly. So you were so secretive about it. Was it because you were afraid of being judged by your classmates? Because teenagers tend to be really mean and aggressive and gossipy, right?
Yeah.
So
I
what was that?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I didn't want to talk to people about it, especially in high school. I knew for a fact that Hubbard had a lot of kind of cliques. And so once word gets out about somebody, it's going to go around the school.
It's like that for every middle school and high school.
Exactly.
So you just kept it a secret?
Yeah. I only told like maybe a few close friends.
Were they very protective of you?
Not at all. It just was like, hey, you ain't sick. I'm not going to treat you any differently.
That's the attitude to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was it like? Because I know that when I was in middle school, we had to have sex education and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like for you, knowing that you are HIV positive, trying to be secretive about it during your teenage years, when your classes were giving STD and HIV education? Like,
Mm-hmm.
did you feel like the information they were providing were accurate information, or was it misinformation?
I feel like it was accurate. But being in there, especially when it came to like the HIV STD segments of health, kind of felt like that gifted kid because my doctors somewhat drilled all this information in my head like since I was 5 years old, I guess you can say. So I knew a lot of information that was already given.
Was it the same information that they were teaching in school, or was it different?
Same information.
Same thing. So can you give us a couple of examples of what your doctor drilled in your head?
For sure. For instance, taking your medicine every day, creates people with HIV to be, people living with HIV to be undetected. I'm sorry, lack of sleep. So that was talked about, as well as, you know, how HIV turns into AIDS. Yeah, how to, you know, have safe sex. You know.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So it seems like you've had a very interesting teenage years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why don't we halt the segment because we're going to go into your adult years
Okay.
and how for our next segment how you met your wife, how it was different, you know, as we're trying to move along and proceed with the last part of our segment.
For
So
sure.
do we have any questions from anyone that they would like to ask Andy since he is on right now?
Let me check my Facebook.
Yeah, I'm checking in on Facebook too.
If we have any
Okay,
questions.
any questions? If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Andy Feds, or you can also email me or leave it in the comment box. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions in our next segment, which will be next Friday at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, right?
Yep.
And 9 o'clock a.m. for people who live in the West Coast.
Like me.
Yes. So we want to thank everyone for joining in today. We appreciate all the support. And let me end this Facebook Live session. We will see everyone later on next Friday.
All right. See you guys.